This isn't just merch, it's what teams wear when they mean business. This isn't just merch. It's what teams wear when they mean business. Every stitch, every print, every detail, made to perform. Trusted by the grind, from grassroots to championship halls. Build your team store. Wear the brand that wins. SpartanWare, trusted by the grind.
RSCast is the stats that we're bringing. Stream alerts, you know that's where we're pinging. The usual plays and the fails that we're showing. How's the week gone? It's what we're reviewing. Yeah. Rhino cast in the flesh, he's made the attendance. Paying for him, drained all of our receipts account balance. He's made it big now, casting the main event action. Doesn't cast for us now, does it not give him satisfaction? Biggest Sus is his name, but of course we can't forget the sir. Team Serene haven't missed you as AGM, it was a blur. Didn't take long to win franchise of the season without you. Finally got yourself a haircut, that's so long we overdue. Well, we got ourselves a real life lunchbox on screen. With Kingsman around, there's one less player on your team. Dan Skew didn't want to run it back, not surprised man. Even scared of cash so fast, he flew straight to Japan. Lastly, Ma, please do us a favor and don't break the stream. If you didn't have V-Mix, you wouldn't even be on the team. RSCast is the stats that we're bringing. Stream alerts, you know that's where we're pinging. The usual plays and the fails that we're showing. How's the week gone? It's what we're reviewing.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the first RScast of Season 18. We made it. It's week 1, guys. We're going to be previewing everything that is going to happen for the... Okay. Right. So I'm being told by my producer it's actually the end of the season, not the start. That's great. Well, at least we've got the regular panel on to talk us through the entire season. We've got Kingsman Gasson. Who is that? Who are you, bro?
Who's that?
No. Of course, we're welcoming Hodge to the RScast family for this week. Hodge, hope you're doing very, very well. Here to shed some light on everything going on down in Prospect and Academy, because we know that's your favourite couple of tiers here in the RSC. And of course, Kingsman here, as always, trying to tell us what's happening with Master without playing in it. Right, let's get moving on as we go into this RScast, folks. As we say, it's been a while since our last one. We're here in week 5. We're going to recap everything that happened last week. We're going to give you final tables. And then we're going to do a little bit of predictions as well. Should be a bit of fun. So I say let's not wait around. It's going to be a long one anyway. So let's just get straight into reviewing what happened last week in the final week of action here in the RSC. And now also it's worth mentioning that because we've not had an RS cast so far this season, neither of our guests have any idea of what conference they're doing. So,
okay. I thought you were going to say have no idea about any of the tiers. Okay, all right, there we go.
No. You have tiers. It's fine. It's the conference that you're reviewing.
You're going to switch and swap them.
No. You're going to have the same conference for the entire cast,
okay.
and I think we'll start with Kingsman. I think Kingsman can take some glacies.
Yeah, we're teaching Hodge live on air what we do here in RSCcast. And well, Husky went into this week 8-0, and everyone thought, is it possible for them to go completely unbeaten. Well, they came up against 8-1 Unito, and Unito shut them down. It was a 3-0 sweep between the top two's teams. A calamity for Husky at the end of the season. They did manage to pull back a 3-1 win against Velox, but Unito were on absolute shooting form. Another sweep over Cardinals to go double 3-0 for the week. A massive final week, which puts them in contention with Husky for that top spot. Did they get it? Well, you'll have to find out later. Another team that had a bit of a slower end compared to their recent form was Livens. They got a 3-0 onto Xinjiang and then got swept by Megain, who needed a huge week after a bad run of form. 3 losses out of their last 3 coming into this week. And, well, didn't they recover in style? A Game 5 with Velox, which probably questioned how their game against Livens was going to go. But they said, hold my beer, and took a 3-0 sweep. A massive week, and what better place to do it than week 5?
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Kingsman. That is Academy in Glacies. I'm wishing our life away. So over on the Ignis side, Hodge, talk us through the results over there.
Yeah, some massive results across the board here for some teams who didn't necessarily need them, and for some teams who absolutely did. This conference was pretty close, and it came down to individual games until the very end. The main thing I'm looking at is the final week, MPB Shell snatching the first seed away from Brave Arconics with their double win week over Drengir, and Arconics themselves, it coming down to the wire in that final sort of series there. And yeah, they won 3-1 in both of those. I'm looking at the likes of Mistaken Purpose, who've been on a little bit of a rebound throughout the season. They started not the best with a double loss week in week 1 and not really following things up very much better in week 2 or 3. And since then, they've been able to turn the season around and finish in the top 3, in fact. So massive congrats to them with a 6-0, sorry, not a 6-0, a 6-2 week here in week 5 to sort of cling on to that top 3 in the very final stages. Some great and crucial games here from the likes of Death Cloud Rain, securing themselves a spot in that top 6. And they'll be playing right now, I believe, actually, on the mainstream. So make sure to go and check that one out as well. But also stay tuned here because we've got a lot more action coming. Some massive games, but some also, not great performances from some teams who started out well and have been on a bit of a decline. I'm looking at Sanctuary Altar. They started out brilliantly back in week 1, going 2-0. There was a lot of expectations, a lot of high promise. And since then, I don't actually think they've won a game. And I mean, look at this final week. 0-3, 0-3. It wasn't the best way for them to end their season. But yeah, I think between the two tiers, Glacies is the tier that everyone is expecting to be the better tier coming into the playoffs. Ignis, I guess, a little bit more depth, though, probably the closer tier. But Glacies, the top dog, certainly standing out more.
Yeah, absolutely. Hodge giving you a little bit of insight into the next couple of slides as well with how the table's finished. But
I
as we say,
work here.
Yeah, it's all right. Look, you know what? By the time we get into Master, we're gonna have this thing down, boys. That's gonna be the idea. So
Maybe.
Those are your results through from week 5. Let's take a look at what that has done to the standings. Who was able to get through to playoffs proper? Who needs to go through the play-ins? And for Glacies in the Academy tier, Kingsman, it's relatively cut and dry as I'm looking at it.
Yeah, it is. I do want to make a prediction before we do move on. I reckon Hodge has spent more time talking about Academy than he will for the rest of the tiers combined. I reckon that's a prediction we'll make.
Maybe not Prospect.
That works.
True, maybe not. Yeah, actually.
He's got some Prospect knowledge. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I played the tier.
Oh, damn. But moving on to the table. Well, I told you that win for Unito, that 3-0 sweep was crucial, and it puts them as the top dogs in the Glacies. First place is theirs. Husky then dropped to second for the first time this season. A big blow for them. They're not really something they'd have wanted to have dealt with. Then it was Livens. Very, very clear on win percentage. 6% ahead of 20R on 7-on-3. Both had relatively good seasons, though, regardless, so far. And then Megain, a double win week one or two more wins than all of the teams around them, and that secured them that 5th place spot. Xinjiang held on by 0.24% over Calidus to make it into the play-ins. That is probably one or two games that is there. Calidus won 18 single games, lost 22. Xinjiang won 19, lost 23. One game win or game loss is the difference between that. Then the teams down below, you had Velux at 3 and 7, and then Cardinals and Hayes just ending the season 2 and 8.
There you go. That is how Glacies shook out. So close for Dexterity, Calidus, but they... Right, okay, sure. What?
Who was that then?
What on me? I'm going to guess that was Kingsman then in that case. We'll give Kingsman some time to clean up whatever mess he's just made, as Hodge is going to talk us through Ignis in just a moment as we see it pop up. And Hodge, while we're just bringing up those results, which do you said you play in Prospect? I believe you're currently a free agent, but were you signed with someone beforehand?
Yeah, it was Aspire, and we went 0-4, and then I just requested a cut. So, yeah, we'll get onto that in a little bit when we get to Prospect, and we'll cover that. But for now, talking about week 5 here.
Yeah, there we go.
Academy tier as the results load onto the screen, and Mal does his job finally. We have the results popping up. See, we're already coming in with the ego. That's how you got to do it.
Been here for one day.
Exactly. I've done one before. One before, you know, experienced.
Not that I know.
But no. You were there. Okay, well, whatever.
I've slept since then, bro.
Shell topping the table, first place, and like I say, getting it over Brave Arconics in that final match of the season that they played. A massive game and a massive result, but you can see things are so close there. 3 teams in the top 3, all with the same 7-3 record. There's definitely some strong contenders here between those 3, and they are upper bracket teams here. Arconics and Purpose, strong performance alongside Shell. Teams to look out for. Moving down, though, we've got Berserker's Drengia, who started really well and have had a bit of a mixed bag performance since. They finished the season with a 6-4 record in 4th place, and they're going to be playing on stream. I'm going to be casting them on stream in about 45 minutes. But for now, it is Ascent and Rain. Ascent, not really the greatest start to the season. They made a couple of roster changes, moving Righty to inactive reserve, bringing in Bredy, and since then they've recovered their season nicely and finished with a 5-5 equal record. Deathcloud Rain also making some roster changes, currently playing on stream right now. No idea what the score is. But yeah, they also cling on to the top 6. Cadalians and Ubis, a bit of a comeback. They sat in 10th for a good portion of the season, and now started to put some wins on the board finally, but it wasn't quite enough. Same can be said for Alpha Surge Gronkel, not quite enough though. Rash Fast did a bit of a rebuild, but still finished 3-7, not quite working out for them. And then Sanctuary Altar, a great week 1. Yeah, and that's about it.
Yeah, absolutely. There you go. So a little bit tighter, it looks like, in the Ignis conference from 7-3 to 2-8. So interesting to see which teams were able to make it through. And once again, we had a very, very close tiebreaker between 6th and 7th, as their win percentage a matter of 0.31 better for Deathcloud. That's no. Listen, I said "and" for a reason. All right, don't even think about it. Okay. All right, fine. Everyone in chat is going for it.
I'm invited back on.
And we've kicked people off before and they've made their way back. It's fine, Hodge. Don't worry about it. So I wonder if Kingsman is back, because if he is, then we're going to be able to talk about. Actually,
I never left.
You never left.
No.
The glass
how much?
says
How much
otherwise.
liquid did you spill? Yeah.
None actually. I was just moving my glass of water and it hit another glass of water.
Oh,
okay.
It's like a cheers moment. Okay,
Exactly.
fair enough. So, with that said, we can move on to. I believe we don't actually have fixtures because, of course, this is the situation with week 5. We're at the end.
Yay.
We don't have fixtures, which means we are just going back into the results from week 5 for Hodge's favourite tier. But we're not going to start with Hodge. We're going to start with Kingsman. Chat us through Glacies.
Yeah, we are. And, well, it was Rupelli. I think that was their I think that's how you say it, Rapelli. I haven't been told I'm wrong yet because this is the first week. So
You are correct.
Thank you, who had
Yeah.
a similar job to do. They had to hold on to top spot playing the team directly chasing them. And Keanu were having none of it. Another sweep onto top of the table, and it was Yokai who were on the receiving end of Keanu's wrath in this final week. Rapelli did fall to a 3-0. They did manage to pick up a sweep of their own, though, against the Cultists, who are hunting that final playing spot against Tenma and Obscurity, which I did cast that game, the game 5. It was a very thrilling game. Greatly played by Obscurity there, who did end up going double win. We did talk about it on stream before we left because their game was Sunday. They did manage to beat Occultus in game 5, so a heartbreaker there for Occultus, and I will tell you more about why later.
Thank you very much, Kingsman. Keeping the suspense. Hodge, talk us through Ignis.
Yeah, some massive crucial series is here for certain teams. I'm looking at Aspire Embark here mostly with 2 win weeks, redeeming their season after I left it in the dirt with an 0-4 start. Redeeming it, and well, we'll see where they finish a little bit later, but massive results for them with a 3-1 over Gedalian's Boulder, which I got to stream on my channel. It didn't look very good in the first game, and then after that they warmed up and they essentially just hammered them. Over this Umargus side as well, 3-1 victory. It was a really good week from them overall. And then another series that I've got to look at here is this. I've just thought about it and then forgot it completely from my mind. Is Umargus 3-0 sweeping Sanctuary Shrine? Sanctuary Shrine, the top dogs of the table, falling here to this Umargus side. And Umargus, they sort of needed to get a win somewhere here to solidify their position in the table. And what a better way to do it than taking down the top dogs of the conference. MTK Devotion, also some great weeks from them. Game 5 win over Gedalian's Boulder, playing their sub. And then also a Game 5 win over Alpha Surge Hot Purple, who's sort of going as a little bit of an underdog, I'd say, in terms of the table overall. People not really expecting them too much to pull off a performance, but I reckon that they could go on a run in playoffs, as they also got a win over Death Cloud Thunder, who have been looking stronger and stronger the past few weeks.
Yeah, we'll talk about this a little bit later on, but you're just talking about Alpha Surge there, and it's the first time we've had an RScast this season, if you didn't know. And so it's the first time I've got the chance to say I am so thrilled with their team names this season. If you know, you know. If you don't worry about it. But it makes me so happy just seeing all of their team names are going down the list, because it's one of my favorite movie franchises of all time, and that's going to give you guys a hint as to what it is. But very, very nice work from Alpha Surge. I wish them all the best. Moving forwards, then, let's take a look at what that's done to the standings. Who finished in those top spots in the playoffs? Who was unfortunately unable, in their season ends here? We'll check out Glacies first. And for that, we will go to Kingsman Gas, who is going to be playing later this week.
Well, you might as well have duplicated the same thing in Academy, because Keanu beat Rapelli to go ahead of them in the table. Another double win week for them sees them top the table by 4% on wins. A massive final week for Keanu's. Rapelli find themselves ending the season second place. A good finish, but what could have been for them? Fenrir, they dropped a series in the final week. Luckily for them, though, it was enough for them to hold on to that third place. Even with Obscurity chasing behind, won 5 of the last 5, a team really on fire coming into the play-ins here. 7-3 for them, brilliant ending for them. Crusaders, they were one of the unfortunate teams to pick up 2 of 3 20R wins in this final week. So that saw them stay in 5th place. Tenma took Obscurity to a tense game 5, but they do manage to stay in by about 1 win percent, and that sees Occultus drop out completely. 20R, as I mentioned, they went double win in probably the weirdest scenario ever, because they had nothing to play for this week. So they are gone 3-7. However, it means they don't finish bottom. Those spots belong to the 2 and 8 sides in Yokai and Ankoli with 2C, respectfully.
There you
Is that
go.
why
Thank you
Stypicus
very
just
much.
got kicked off the podcast? Is that because you finished 10th?
Probably, yeah.
Is he playing in
booted him out.
Prospect?
Yeah, he's on that Unitox team.
I thought he was in Academy.
No.
You know what, Hodge? Sure, that's the excuse we'll use. It's definitely not because he had another gig. Moving on to Ignis then, as we take a look at what happened in the Ignis conference. Who will be competing with the top 6 from Glacies? Hodge, talk us through it.
Yes, so Glacies, Ignis, hang on, is this Ignis or Glacies? Yeah, this is Ignis, yeah, okay, what? Well, yeah, top of the table there, Sanctuary Shrine, 8-2, alongside MTK Devotion, who are sort of threatening the challenge towards the final week, but I think they needed to sweep both series to take that number 1 spot, and it just was not going to happen. 2 top dogs who could go on massive runs for sure. Alpha Surge Hot Purple, a team that had a bit of a rocky start, but sort of picked things up in the second half of the season and finishing that 3rd place spot with a 6-4 record. Definitely a little bit more of a dark horse than the other 2, but one that could certainly pack a punch. Then it gets a little bit more equal as we head down to the next 3. Umargis, Embark, and Swift, all different teams with different stories. Umargis has a little bit of a fluctuating season, picking up win-loss, 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 win-loss. Aspire Embark starting 0-4 and then essentially winning all but one game to come back and make it a 5-5 season. Massive recovery and a great rebuild there from Tingley. It's an incredible comeback, and I think that team and a lot of prospects think that team could really make a run in that lower bracket. It's looking like quite the scary side. Rash Swift started out pretty well. I believe they were like 4-1 or something, and since then it went a little bit south for them. I'm not sure exactly why, I'm not sure exactly how, but they do still finish in that top 6 spot with a 5-5 record. MPB Snap so close, but in the final series they weren't quite able to get it done. Spark, some roster changes that couldn't really help them, some availability issues. There was a lot of promise for them at the start of the season, but ended up finishing 4-6. DC Thunder, the rebuild just wasn't quite enough for them, and they dug themselves too much of a hole to come back from, starting the season 1-5 after the first 3 weeks. Just not really able to get out of that one. And then Cadalion's Boulder tried the rebuild with Ethan 2K over Nep, and it just wasn't quite enough for them as well. 2-8 finishing the season, and yeah, that's your Ignis standings.
There you go. So for the first time tonight, there is a clear wins-loss cutoff from 6th place, rather than having to fight over the win percentage. So it's nice to see that come through, as we do have, unfortunately, mushy pea brains. Hodge, are you still with MPB at the moment, or was that just a one-season thing? In spirit. No, I just really didn't want to manage this season because I knew pre-mades would be chaos. So yeah, fair enough.
And they were. I've heard nothing but complaints.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course.
It always is. It always is chaos. Right. In that case, that is everything for week 5 from Prospect. So we're now going to move up to Challenger, which is our wonderful streamers tier. Let's see how he got on. We're going to start over on the Glacies side. Kingsman, talk us through what happened last week.
Being on this conference, I can't hate watch our favourite streamer. However, what I can do is tell you about the 3 teams that went 2-0 this week. One of them was Sasanami. They got a 3-1 over Polida, and they got a 3-2 over Fujiyoshi. So big results for them. They did need to try and chase Polida for 3rd. So a big result for them. Were they able to snap 3rd off them? Well, that will come in the standings. However, looking around the rest of the table, you had a few sweeps over here. You had Sentinel sweeping Eclipse, Kanan sweeping 20 Riflemen, and Eclipse sweeping 20 Riflemen, who probably ended the season in the worst possible way you could have. But I think the big takeaway from me for this tier this week, Psycho went into this week 0-8. Absolutely no chance they could do anything. Havoc went into this week needing results to keep their 6th place. And Psycho just beat them in a game 5. The first series win they'll have all season, and potentially they might have stopped Havoc from getting that top 6, because Sentinels then also went on to beat them, one of the other 2-0 teams. So massive game week for Psycho, but did it cause havoc?
Yeah, Kingsman's been doing this a few times, hasn't he? He definitely knows to get the tension going for the standings on the next slide, even though everyone can literally go onto the website and see them if they want to.
Boo.
Hodge, talk us through Ignis.
Yeah, Ignis, some big results here. I'm looking at this Rash Zippy team. The final 2 wins they needed to go perfect in the standings. 10-0 for them, and a great way to cap off week number 5. 3-1 over Brave Ember, and 3-1 over Aspire Rise as well. It's consistent, it is, and it's a great way to round out their league play heading into the playoffs. I'm also looking at teams who they really played against there, and teams who were on sort of needing wins there. Brave Ember needed to win at least one of their games this week, and coming up against a team like Zippy, you're not really going to be favored to win that series. So their other one was so crucial against Deathcloud Atmos, and that came down to a game number 5, but as you can see, they got the win 3-2, and well, you'll see where they finished in the standings very, very shortly. As well as that, we see some great results across the board for certain teams. We got some sweeps inbound from Mistaken Dynasty over Alpha Surge Nightmare, Aspire Rise over MPB Snow, and then also Alpha Surge Nightmare 3-0ing Berserkers Thralls. So yeah, some amazing results here in the Ignis conference here for Challenger, but I think we can only really scratch the surface until we have a look at the tables.
And Hodge is very quickly learning to wait until those tables come through before we start to talk about where those standings are. Let's do just that then. Let's see how things went. Were the things that Kingsman said just a moment ago coming to fruition? Did Psycho ruin the season for one of their opponents? Kingsman, talk about it.
I think the big talking point I purposefully left out in the review, and I will probably be looking on at me. Canaans, they went 10-0 this season. What an impressive run. They did drop 13 game wins, which is less than second places in other tiers, but the main thing that matters is these series wins. They haven't dropped a single one all season. So impressive, and you only hope for their sake that they can carry it on. If they went 0-2 in playoffs, it would probably be the saddest thing ever seen. But for now, 10-0, completely unbeaten. Brilliant record. Well done to all of them. Sentinels could only chase up behind. 8-2 on a 70% win rate would be enough to win some tiers. Not here, as they fall to second. Polida, they did manage to hold on to third. That win from Sasanami was not enough to push them down by 2%. Then on 5-5, it was 3 teams: Qantas, Havoc, and Eclipse. Eclipse, they just dropped too many games this season because of 45%. They are 5% nearly behind Havoc. And Havoc, they hang on with their double loss week here. Fujiyoshi, 3-7, 2 game wins between each, really in no man's land. Then Psycho, unbelievably, climb out from the bottom spot. They didn't have a single series win, and suddenly they finished 9th. But not at Havoc's expense. 1-9 for them, 29%. Then 20 Riflemen end the season, 1-9, falling, drop to the bottom of the table.
There you go. So Psycho just about saving themselves from going 0-10 on the season. As you say, not at the expense of Havoc. And I tell you something, the fact that that game went to 5, actually quite useful for Havoc in the end, because if it was a sweep, that win percentage might look a little bit weaker than it is right now. So all going on in Glacies. Let's then move over to Ignis and see who's going through. Is there also an unbeaten team on the Ignis side? It might happen. It is going to happen, Hodge.
Yeah, I kind of leaked it earlier, but Rash Zippy 10-0 in their table. Really, really dominant side from them. 76.92% win rate. Really, really impressive. But also some impressive results as well from the top 3. Mistaken Dynasty 8-2. and Alpha Surge Nightmare 7-3. Some great weeks in the final week from all of them to round things out and have an amazing performance across the season. And the same can be said for some of these teams as we start to move down. Death Cloud Atmos finishing 6-4, and Aspire Rise and Brave Ember sort of clinging on there with their final week wins to go 5-5 to get those 5th and 6th play-in spots, and then obviously you've got the likes of MPB Snow, Godalian Shivas, Berserker Thralls, and Sanctuary Sanctum, who just missed out for, the likes of MPB Snow, but people like Berserker Thralls, and especially Sanctuary Sanctum, not being able to win a single series across the entire league play. I wonder, surely that's got to be the only team in the entire league to do that. Or maybe there might be one or two more, but it can't be that common.
Oh. You wouldn't think so, but we're only halfway through and we've found one, so mathematics
on my team
dictates there might be
for
another
the whole
one.
season.
Yeah. Or if Kingsman had joined a team from the start of the season, maybe. That's enough from Challenger, and looking very forward to seeing what those guys are going to do. So if you want to see Challenger, that's going to be next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Saturday. So up the conferences we go. Halfway through, we're going up to Rival now to see what happened during week 5. And as always, we are going to start with Glacies, and Kingsman, talk us through some of the results from Glacies in Rival last week.
Yeah, it was either you win 2 or lose 2, unless you're 20 Rocketeers and Hiroto. But I'll exclude those 2 for now. But only 2 sweeps in the Glacies conference this week. 20R were involved in both. Got swept by Caligo, who were leading us into the final week. And also then swept Aptus, who were bottoming the league going into the final week. So they played both ends of the table and got completely opposite results. Who would have seen that coming? On the other side, though, you had Raiju, the team that were chasing them, hoping for a potential slip-up. They went to 2 Game 5s with Nightfall and I missed my other one, Hiroto, there we go, who were chasing that final 6th place spot from Chianina. But as you noticed, they picked up 2 game wins themselves. However, the only team to lose both in the top 6 was Nightfall, both in Game 5, so a completely tragic ending for a team who were potentially looking at top 3. But has the sudden dip in form cost them their top 6 entirely? Because the table in Glacies going into this week in Rival was ridiculously close.
Yeah, it certainly was, and you can actually also see that a lot of those games were close as well. Half of them going to game number 5. Can't say the same on the Ignis side though, Hodge.
Yeah, you can't. There's been, quite a lot of sweeps, quite a lot of 3-1s, and then you've got a couple of Game 5s as well. We might have a little bit of variation, but yeah, I'm looking at mostly in terms of sweeps. Brave Flame, 3-0 sweep over Focus and a 3-0 sweep over Floki there as well. You've got the likes of Alpha Surge Zippleback with a 3-0 sweep over Focus as well. So Focus, not necessarily the best week for them, but I'm having a look at the table on my second monitor, and they've not really had the greatest season either. And then, yeah, sweeps as well. Rash Rapid over Sanctuary Temple. And, I mean, a lot of these results, well, you'll see very shortly, very crucial in terms of where these teams have finally finished their seasons in the overall leaderboard. But I think in this final week, it's more so about getting wins on the board. It doesn't really matter how you get them for a lot of teams. It's just about picking up those games one by one, getting those wins and doing what you need to do. And some teams certainly have done that better than others.
Yeah, they very much have, and let's find out exactly which teams have performed that little bit better over the course of the season. What do these results mean for the standings? How does the postseason look? Let's look at the Glacies League to start with, and at the very top, DSQ are having a pretty good season up there, it's fair to say, Kingsman.
They were, yeah, very clear of Raiju. 11% win difference. Incredible stuff from them. Raiju getting swept in both of their losses has cost them in the end, as it's Caligo who top that table, 8-2 for them. Raiju just behind, and win percentage is mentioned. But they're lucky they were getting the series win, because if they'd been one game down, they wouldn't have even made the top 3. That is Lagapus on 7-3, just beating out 20 Rocketeers by 1. By 1%. Even if they picked up some more games against Caligo, or even picked up that series, they'd have finished 3rd. But it's the Volpez side who find themselves there. Nightfall not punished too much for their mistakes, with Hiroto only picking up 1 series win. They find themselves 5th with a 53% win rate. Kianina exactly in the middle. 1 more goal scored or 1 less goal conceded, it would be a perfect middle ground. However, it's not for them. They finished 6th and make it to the postseason. Hiroto, they needed 1 more series win and a few less game losses, and that would have seen them there. And Shinjiru, 3-7, had the win percentage but not the series wins. They finished just ahead of Vanguards, and we find another 0-10 team. No, I wasn't playing on it, Rhino. It is Aptus.
It certainly is. Yeah, 0-10 with a minus 49 goal difference. That is a pretty brutal season for Dexterity. I'm sure we'll see them back next season, though, with a new outlook. That's for sure. Let's take a look then over at the Ignis Conference after all of the games from the final week of league play. And again, looking at the top of the table, do we have a team that has been able to go undefeated? Certainly not. This is going to be a close conference, Hodge.
Yeah, it has been across the entire season, really, and it's being topped by MPB Marvel here, followed very closely by DCE Vortex, some top contenders for sure when they're going to head into the playoffs stage. But yeah, a close conference overall. I'm looking at that 3rd to 5th spot, and it's a 6-4 record for 3 different teams there. So some individual games probably deciding that one, and that's what week 5 comes down to, right? It's getting those wins, but it's getting those wins as quickly as you possibly can. So a lot of those sweeps paying off very highly for some of these teams. And yeah, that 6-0 week there for Brave Flame, certainly you've got to think coming in clutch there to get them that upper bracket spot. But yeah, I'm looking down as well. Rash Rapid clutching that final 6th place spot with their 5-5 record. But yeah, for some of these teams a bit further down, maybe not quite the finish to the season they were hoping for. Sanctuary Temple, Berserkers, Carls, 4-6 is what they finished on. And then Gedalians, Floki, 3-7, Aspire, Focus, 2-8.
There you go. So, yeah, I mean, just 1 win between 5th and 1st is pretty nuts up here in Rivals. So, be interesting to see how these teams do when we do get into the playoffs. Very unpredictable, even though we have put our predictions in a little further down the line. Let's move on then as we take a look at the final 2 tiers of RSC. We start with the Elite tier, and week 5 last week was quite an interesting one in the Glacies Conference, Kingsman.
Yeah, a bit of context before we go into this one. 20 Raiders started off the season 5-0. They were looking absolutely brilliant. Now, they went into this week 5-3, and you'd think if you're on that team, you'd think, right, just finish out strong. Just finish the season. Nope, not doing that. Celeritas, who went into the week top of the table, beat them in Game 5, and then they suffered a Game 4 defeat to Carbo, who were pushing on to try and get that 3rd place spot in a highly competitive tier, where going into the week, anyone from 7th to 3rd could have been in the top 3. However, for some teams, it was not meant to be, because Darkness started with a 3-0 against ODL. I'm not even going to try with that. It's outrageous. It's not even Alpha Surge. That's outrageous. And then beat Akami in Game 5 to stop all Akami hopes of pushing on. But a good week for the Akami. Even though they didn't get any series win, they took top of the table and one of the top 3 pushers to Game 5, just not able to have that cutting edge in the final bit. And the other result I'm going to circle in on is Centurions 3, Carbo 1. Centurions had to stop Carbo rushing into the top 3, and they did. A nice little result for them to end the season, even if they did then get swept by Yanguni.
Absolutely, and I believe it's pronounced Goenji. Is the ODL
Better
team,
than any guess I'd have given.
Someone can correct me if they want. As Hodge, Ignis, what happened over there?
Well, Ignis, a bit of a mixed bag of results here. Some sweeps, some close series, and some ones that ended in a 3-1 as well. So it really had it all here. But I'm looking here towards MPB Magnolia at their sort of, I guess, polar opposite of a week 5 here. They got the 3-0 sweep against Alpha Surge Stormfly, but then also lost to second place. Sorry, I'm leaking this early. Second place Nefelli in the conference. We'll get there one day. 3-0 as well. So, a bit of a polar sort of week for them, and we'll see how that's going to do for them in the standings in a little bit there. But I'm looking as well at some of these series that were a little bit more close. We're looking at Aspire Summit getting that win over Rash Hypersonic in game number 5. Berserker's Jaws with a 3-2 over Stormfly. And well, that'll become, when you have a look at the table in a second, that'll become quite surprising. But yeah, I think there's some interesting results here that are going to have a lot of impact on the table. But it's nice to see a bit of a mixed bag of results overall. It's not just sweeps, it's not just game 5s, as much as game 5s are interesting. Sometimes, when it comes to these week 5s deciders, it's nice to see some sweeps because you can tell how much those series mean to some of those teams and how much of a boost it's going to give them towards getting to where they want to be on some of their goals.
Surprises promised by Hodge. Let's see if they are going to come through as we do look at those standings, at the final standings of the season for the elite tier, starting in Glacies. And, well, it's a great time to be a Celery Stick supporter, Kingsman.
Yeah, it is. And the good thing is Hodge has even learned how RSC works. Games can only end in games 3, 4, and 5. And he doesn't like 2 of them. That is very much a shame. But yeah, Celery Sticks are on the up, ladies and gentlemen. They have topped the Glacies elite tier. And as a Celery Sticks fan, we saw them come, was it 10th last season, Rhino, I think it was? This is the rebound everyone wanted to see. Every Celery Stick fan, I'm speaking for the community right now, is thrilled with this. 8-2, they top the Glacies conference. 1 series win ahead of Centurions, who did have a slip-up, which has cost them top of the league. And Goonie, 5 out of 5 in the last few. A nice little rebuild for them, sees them 3rd place. Carbo, if they hadn't dropped that series to Centurions, or even dropped a few of those games, they would have been there. 0.4% keeps them out. Darkness off a few bit for win percentage, but coming into play-ins with a good bit of momentum. 20 Raiders, that huge decline was not enough to see them out of play-ins. They managed to hang on, although 5 losses in the last 5 is not a good look going into the play-ins. And Frecky will be thinking, what could we have done better, as they miss out by 3%. Akami, they sort of filtered off with 4 losses in the last 4, not really the best end to the season, with 2, but to be fair, 2 impressive game 5s this week, to be fair. So not all hope is lost. Okay, yeah. The Volpez, 2-8, and it's quite funny to me that the final 2, the worst 2 names in this conference have finished last. Maybe say something more pronounceable next season, and it will do better. But yeah, Volpez 2-8, and we see another 0-10 team. The most unspeakable name so far for ODL in Elite, 0-10, and well, maybe it's because their players were struggling to say the name.
Is it not just Guenji? Is that not quite straightforward?
I'm going to butcher it. If I try, I'll butcher it, and I know I'm best not to. I know my talents.
Yeah. Yeah, the biggest thing we have to understand for Kingsman is that if there is any name in RSC that isn't plain English, just don't ask him to pronounce it.
Yes,
don't
you.
get him involved.
Okay.
That's just the way it goes. So we'll give you a pass. You can use the franchise for this one. It doesn't matter. And they went 0-10 anyway, so it really doesn't matter. Let's move on to Ignis then, and we'll see what the results were over there. What are the standings in this week 5 as we look towards the play-ins and playoffs? Now, remember, Elite is not going to happen. The playoffs are not going to happen for another 2 weeks, folks. It will be 2 weeks today that the Elite play-ins and playoffs will start. And Hodge, who will be there?
Well, the top 6 will be there, and we'll get to that in a second. But remember, I sort of spoke about that Game 5 series between Berserkers Jarls and Alpha Surge Stormfly. Polar opposite ends of the table. Berserkers Jarls with a 9-1 record here. At the top of this table, it's almost perfection, and that's going to be good enough to get them first place here in the Ignis Conference. Followed closely by Deathcloud Nefeli, who 8-2, not too shabby from them. And I'm interested, we're looking at the win percentage there. The win percentage for first place is actually less than it is for second place. So, you know what? They needed some Game 5 series to get there, Charles, but they got it done. They got it done. Things get a bit closer as we get down the table from there, though. MPB, Magnolia, and Aspire Summit coming in with a 6-4 record. Coming down to the win percentage a little bit there. And, well, Magnolia coming out as the benefactors on that occasion. MTK Legacy 5-5 alongside Brave Blaze. So some sort of, I guess, decent performances from them, going equal in terms of their wins and losses, and that's going to be enough to get them top 6 secured. For those teams who unfortunately weren't able to make it to the top 6, Sanctuary Haven and Rash Hypersonic finishing 4 and 6, and then Gadalian's Poseidon 3 and 7, and Alpha Surge Stormfly 2 and 8.
There you go. So no one going winless over in Ignis, which is always nice to see. At least everyone got something on the board. So with that said, we are down to our final conference, our final league of the season, which of course is our Master Tier. And let's take a look at the results from last week's Master Tier action, starting in Glacies. And I guess, Kingsman, you don't really have a horse in this race this season.
No, I really don't. And if I was completely honest, it's probably the first season I haven't kept up with Master in so long. I've probably kept up with other tiers more than I have this one.
What?
But I know, that's what I was thinking. It's incredible, right? Yeah, but
Can't believe it.
Well, I know. But to end off the season, well, lots of things happened. Virtus, looking like the top dogs, found their second series loss again. Oh my goodness me! Against why do I do this to myself? I should look at the team names before I do. Against
probably
Bengalensis. I mean, that to be fair, that is pronounceable.
Nailed it.
Bengalensis.
Yeah, you can do that.
3-1, a brilliant result for them as they were the team chasing Virtus. They also got a 3-0 sweep onto 20 Rangers. A great start for them. Heck, on the other hand, they did come off that Game 5 loss to Virtus, which is respectable, but then got swept 3-0 by Nox, a team that were 2 and 6 going into this week. Not really with a chance of that top spot, so not the best way to end the season for them. Another result I'm going to pick up on, though, in this third place fight was Sovereigns and Kazuku. They played each other. Sovereigns came out the better hand, but Sovereigns then had a slip-up against, why do we have a line above that? Oh, what could we not just call it Endo? I'll call it Endo. Against Endo, where Sovereigns beat them in Game 5, opening the door up to Kazuku, who then came back with a 3-1 win against Kuromu. So, dare I say, Sovereigns had the upper hand, but have they, losing that series, lost out on it completely?
Well, that's going to be the question as we look forwards to the standings. But first, Hodge is going to talk us through what happened last week in Ignis. And I'm not seeing many full 5-game series.
No, not really. Master as a tier, getting it done early, not going to those Game 5s, it seems. And, well, some of the more expected teams getting it done here. I'm looking at the likes of Rash and Berserkers. Boring. But, yeah, I mean, they're getting it done with some of those wins there to add to their already quite impressive record across the season, and some teams picking up some crucial wins as well. I'm looking at the sweep from Gadalian's Zeus, the sweep from Rash, the sweep from Night Fury. Everyone's sweeping here, even MPB being there over Inferno as well. So Inferno not having the greatest end to the season. But yeah, across the Master tier, it often seems to be the case, where we get sort of quite top-heavy conferences with teams who are quite drastically better than other teams. And I think in some of these results, it kind of reflects that. You're seeing a lot of those sweeps and a lot of those dominations. And, well, I think when we have a look at the leaderboards in a second, you'll see that's reflected in the standings as well.
Yeah, we'll take a look then, as you rightly say, at the standings. And, well, we've been back and forth on this because Hodge is doing something that the people here on RSCast very rarely do, which is going to cast an RSC game in a moment. But we are going to stick with our original plan. So I'm going to ask our producer to go to Glacies first. And let's take a look at the Glacies standings. There we go, as they come up. Who have made their way to Master Playoffs, Kingsman?
If you're not just a Celery Sticks fan and a fan of the wider organisation, you'll be happy to see the Virtus top the table in Glacies 8-2 for them. A great way to end the season of league play for them. They did pick up a loss, but that doesn't matter, as Bengalensis did go 7-3, still a series behind, and even so, 7% behind. That is a huge gap. Sovereigns, though, they did not lose out in the end on that top 3, 10% over Kazuku. They had a brilliant achievement for them, as Kazuku will drop into the play-in. 6-4 for them, though, but very close on the win percentage from Heck and Abyss. 0.12% separates them. Then Endo just didn't do enough in the end. I'm pretty sure they've had a rebuild, but 10% behind is too much to climb in this 5-week format, so it sees them in the end. Nox did pull out a surprising result, but 3-7 gets them nowhere near the top 6. And then to end it off, you've got Kuromu and 20R to end the season, with Kurumu's final week win putting them above 20R.
There you go. So a pretty close conference, all things considered. Is it looking similar over on the Ignis side? Let's go over and have a look and see who those top 6 teams are who are continuing to play in RSC Season 18, Hodge. And it's going to be Rash who topped the table.
Yeah, no surprises there. Smashy and Pids, top of the tier in the Ignis conference. Unfortunately, that means that Fisher XNZ is being carried to a trophy. But we'll get more on that in playoffs, hopefully. Berserkers, I mean, I don't think there's really any surprise here. People expected this team to be, one or two, regardless, interchangeable with Rash, and they've delivered here in the league play as well. It was going to be a little bit of a question of how much Sweaty and Trout were going to pull down the team, but they delivered and ended 8-2. So yeah, a good performance from Berserkers. To round out the top 3 here in the upper bracket is Alpha Surge Night Fury as well. 7-3 record from them and a great showing. MPB Bean on that 6-4 record, coming in at the 4th place spot. And then I'm looking down as well at Godalian Zeus and Mistaken. I hate when teams do this and they just boring. Put the franchise name as the master name. Boring. But yeah, 5-5 and 5-5. So going equal across their season record. But that's what you got to do to get top 6, and that's what they've been able to do there. Teams who just missed out, Aspire Zenith, and it was a great recovery attempt from them. I remember seeing them in 10th for a good proportion of the season. They made those changes. They brought in different talent and almost were able to do it, but not quite, falling short there at the final hurdle. And then Brave Inferno not having the greatest end to the season. Same can be said for Sanctuary Paradise and Death Cloud Tempest finishing in last place there. So yeah, an interesting conference here in the Ignis side of things, but dare I say, not too many surprises.
No, I think that's probably fair. Not too many surprises in the end. Just as you say, a lot of teams whose team names match their master tier names. Bit weird. I do have to say, obviously, shout out to Night Fury as well. No Viking has ever shot down a Night Fury on Burke, but 3 teams at least were able to do that in this season. Right, let's then head on to our franchise standings as we take a look at which franchises have been best performing over the course of the entire season. We're starting with the bottom 10, and we will be starting with Kingsman. Gas, talk us through the franchise standings bottom half.
Yes, we will, and I'm sure to no one's surprise, it's Sanctuary at the bottom, 20-40, 1/3 of games won. But I might be wrong in saying, should this not be the other way around, because Sanctuary have a higher win percentage than God Alliance do, unless we're suddenly going off goal difference.
I believe it was mentioned that the franchise standings may be backwards, so or the tiebreaker has not been fully assessed yet. Let's put
good news. We'll figure this out as we go. So I'm going to put God Alliance at the bottom in 20th, 41.1%. Sanctuary ahead by 0.2%. Then you've got ODL, who I believe we saw at least one team 0-10, so great recovery from the rest of the teams to put them in 18th. Team Serene, 24 and 36, not this side of the table they're normally on, 46.75%. Then you've got 20R, 25 and 35, with the Unitox just ahead of them on win percentage. Then, all alone for once, you have Aspire on 47.3%, and Dexterity, who had two teams finish first, so massive loss somewhere for those two teams. So I believe their two tiers had 16 wins between them, the other three only amassing 13. Then we get to the tied group, where Brave Esports would, I believe in this tiebreaker, finish below Deathcloud. So you've got Brave Esports at the bottom of the 30 and 30s. Then you've got Deathcloud in 11th.
There you go. So Brave and Deathcloud top in the charts of the bottom half of franchise standings, and I can see that game on the A stream is just about to end. So we are going to have to make the most of Hodge while we still have him, and that's going to be to talk through the top 10 franchises from season 18. Let's move up to those top 10 standings and your franchise of the season, DSQ Esports.
Yeah, DSQ Esports, an incredible franchise, and we'll get to them in a sec. So I want to start from the bottom and work our way up here. Starting in 10th with Shadow Esports, but having a look at win percentages, I believe it's actually Deathcloud who are 10th and Shadow are 12th and Braves 11th. So the tiebreakers mixing things up a little bit here, but still, nonetheless, a decent showing there for Shadow, coming in at sort of around that mid-table spot. Alpha Surge coming in alongside Fort Templar in that sort of 8th and 9th spot. For Alpha Surge, it's great new management coming in, franchise returning after being away for a series. Fort Templar coming back into the league after a couple of seasons away, and great to see them in the sort of positive side of the table as well. Another franchise that's come back for the first time since RSC14, I believe, Volps Esports, and having a lot more impact than they did in the last time they were here as well, I believe. Team Berserkers, always reliable, always consistent, into the top 6 with a 34 and 26 record, alongside Team MPB, who under new management are still sort of getting themselves up there, finding that success in the league play. Team Rash, a new franchise to the league, but very good management and very good rosters alongside them. I mean, they were able to get Smashy on their master team. That should sort of say enough as to how some of the franchises and some of the teams are going to perform. And they find themselves third, actually, over Chrome on that tiebreaker. And what's interesting, I find, is they only have 3 out of their 6 teams with a positive win percentage, but that's still enough to get them top 3 in the franchise standings, just purely because of how dominant the teams that are performing well are performing. So really good to see from them. And then Chrome Esports, last season's franchise of the season, still showing that they can be consistent. It is actually them in 4th place, not 3rd, but still a great spot to be. And then your top 2, Mistaken Esports, coming in with a 39 and 21 record. Great showing from them. 5 tiers in the green, 5 tiers with positive records. Massive from them. But we have a look at our number 1 spot. It is DSQ Esports, who come out as the League Play franchise. I don't want to say franchise of the season, because obviously that's decided at the end of playoffs, but the League Play franchise winners, and not really making it too close either. 42 and 18. Miles ahead, about 5% ahead of 2nd place. And yeah, likewise with Mistaken Esports, 5 teams in the green as well. So yeah, lovely to see from some of these franchises continuing to perform well.
Certainly, very much so. Well, that is your rundown of everything that happened last week from an objective standpoint. We will get onto the subjective points in just a moment. So we are going to keep Hodge just to close out this little section of discussing the franchise standings and all that kind of stuff. Hodge, we're talking about academy and prospects. Was there anyone in those two tiers that really surprised you this season, either in a positive way or a negative way?
In terms of players or in terms of teams?
In terms of expectations going into the season, someone that like maybe overperformed above what we expected them to, or underperformed?
In terms of individual players, I think for Academy, I'd have to go with Flint. New player coming into the league, quite low CMV, around 1280, I want to say, and finished the league play format #1 in goals in the entire league, and is just elevating his team to new levels every single series. Massive to see. And yeah, I think in terms of across some of these tiers, a lot of it is teams who you've expected to do well, who are living up to the expectations. I'm looking at Team Serene Academy. I'm looking at the likes of DSQ. But in terms of teams, I guess, and players who are in prospect, I guess, who are, really doing better than you could expect, I'd like to give it a shout out to that Sanctuary side. People weren't necessarily very high on them because they're a team full of unks, but the experience is paying off this season.
It certainly is. It certainly is. And Kingsman isn't used to having someone talk for that long on this podcast.
Could have his own podcast. Could have his own podcast. Maybe should have the Prospect and Academy podcast. It would probably be a longer episode than this entire RSCcast put together.
Yeah, if someone thinks of that idea, it would be pretty good to do.
Maybe
call it the Lower Bracket Podcast as well. That's a good name.
That doesn't hit. I don't think that's the one.
Well, let's look at things that actually do hit. So Hodge is going to have to go and do some actual Rocket League casting. Don't know what that's like. But for myself and Kingsman, we are going to be with you all to watch the wonderful clips of the week. Let's see who's up for grabs. He'll do it any moment, I believe.
It's that time of the week again. RSC-EU's Clip of the Week, brought to you by trophi.ai. Use code RSC-EU to get 12% off Rocket League coaching for 12 months. Now, let's check out the plays.
Well, those are your clips of the week, and we have replaced Hodge with Mal, who is also doing the streaming. So I'm not going to come to you for too much, Mal. I appreciate that you're doing a lot of work behind the scenes, but some nice clips in there.
Definitely. Hopefully my mic can be heard.
It can by
don't
me.
Actually okay, I can be. I can also hear myself. So this is awful, but there were some very, very good clips. Especially Mimical appearing twice. You can't beat someone doing that well that they appear twice in Clip of the Week.
Yeah, absolutely. Kingsman, a very hard man to please. Notoriously, this is our first Clip of the Week of the season here on RSCast. Anything that took your fancy?
I think before we get into it, one of the series I casted earlier in the week, there was a clip in there, I think, which would have won that. It was Joker on Abyss, I believe. took the ball from its own half, air dribbled it to the wall, and Kuxa pinched it in overtime. Not on there, so I cannot comment on how good it was. You just have to believe me, which I know most of you won't, so let's not even try going into that avenue. Yeah, but out of the clips in there, some very good variety for sure, from team plays to some good plays. But I think for overall quality, I think it has to be Mimical's second goal. Don't get me wrong, that first pinch is great, that it bounces off that awkward part of the ceiling and goes in. But I just think you need more control, you need more ability to be able to pull off. Less players will pull off that second shot, and to do that in week 5, the final week, that's when it matters.
Fair enough. Absolutely. Well, currently we have a leader on the vote, but we can change that, folks, if we would like to on the desk. So I'm going to ask for a vote from both of you as we move forwards as well. Mal, who would you like to vote for your clip of the week?
So, Mimical clip 1, if I remember correctly, was the Mimical clip where he pinched it off the ceiling, correct?
Yeah, that's the one.
Then that's the one that I'm going to pick.
Okay. It's gone for Mimical clip 1. Kingsman.
I'm surprised, Mal, you didn't go for the mistaken team play at the end. That seems like exactly your type of goal, to be fair. But yeah, I'm going with Mimical, but not number 1. I'm going with Mimical number 2.
Ooh.
There you go. All right. Well, I'm going for the team clip. That's my kind of clip as well. I'm going for James Owen Resist Jaguar. I think it's I enjoy playing. I think it's a nice clip. I think it's good team play. I really like how they pulled it together. But with all those votes counted, I can tell you that it is actually going to be Mimical's first clip that takes home your clip of the week for this week. So let's remind ourselves of all of the nominees as well as your clip of the week, Mimical.
It's that time of the week again. RSC-EU's Clip of the Week brought to you by trophi.ai. Use code RSC-EU to get 12% off Rocket League coaching for 12 months. Now, let's check out the plays.
Well, there you go. That is your clips of the week. And Mal, still working out some audio issues, but I get the feeling that you're a little bit more of a fails man than a clips man. I reckon that's going to be the case. So I think we should probably, since you're here, take a look at some fails of the week. Although I know we were struggling for submissions, so maybe there might only be one. Let's find out. Let's run the fails of the week.
And now we have RSC-EU's Fail of the Week, brought to you by trophi.ai. Haha, well, if you're on the video this week, you should probably go and buy yourself some coaching under code RSC-EU.
just a couple of fails of the week. People not willing to give us their mistakes to look at on stream. But Mal, I feel like there was one there that was unlucky and one that was just, why would you do that?
I mean, we all know Kevin. He's an incredible player. He's really good at shooting. He just obviously gets confused sometimes and shoots it on his own net.
Yeah, he certainly does. Kingsman, it's something you've done a fair bit. Can you speak to what he was thinking about in that moment?
Yeah, it's something I do a fair bit. I can't complain with that. But no, not in that moment. I have no idea. Maybe that is the reason that 20R in Elite have lost their last 5. Because Kevin's secretly been playing for the wrong team the entire time. So they've been playing a 2v4 all season. Which, if so, they've still done impressively well to take games.
Yeah. Yeah, if that is the case, then good on them. That is for sure. But there you go. So the vote is up for who your fail of the week is, but I think most of us can pretty much predict where our votes are going. Mel, your vote first, please.
Oh, it's a hard one, you know. I think it's gonna have to go to Kevin.
Okay. Very good, Kingsman.
Yeah, I'm with Mal on this one. Straight to Kevin.
I am also giving my vote to Kevin. We're going to wait for the vote in chat to finish. At the moment, our votes are enough to give Kevin the win for the day. But it is only because of our votes, because currently in chat, it's 4-2 in favor of the first clip, which you guys are mean, man. That's just unfortunate. It's just unlucky.
Clearly,
and
more
it is
prospect
over.
Player in the chat.
Maybe so. Maybe so. But with our votes included, it is going to be Kevin who takes your fail of the week. So once again, let's remind ourselves of both of the clips, including Kevin, your fail of the week.
And now we have rsc-eu's fail of the week, brought to you by trophi.ai. Haha, well, if you're on the video this week, you should probably go and buy yourself some coaching under code RSC-EU.
Well, there you have it. Clip and fail of the week, all signed off and ready to go. We only have one more section in our recap from week 5, and that is going to be our weekly awards and team of the week. The time of the week where we get to spotlight who has been the top performers in their respective tiers over the course of the last week. And we have some absolutely brilliant players to shine a light on. So let's go ahead and do that right now. We'll start, as we always do, in Academy tier with your players of the week. And let's see.
And now
who's
we have
going to show up
rsc-eu's
first.
fail
You know
of the
what?
week,
Mal,
brought
you
to
can talk us through
by
Academy.
trophi.ai. Well, if you're on the video this week, you should probably go and buy yourself some coaching.
Kingsman, you can talk us through Academy.
RSC-EU. Yay! So, you've got Jazz and Cairo, Team 3 with a hell of a week in Academy. And now we have RSC-EU's fail of the week, ahead of his teammate Cairo, by trophi.ai. Awards. Yeah, well, if you're on the video this week, you should Jazz is your MVP, Cairo is your finisher, tied with Jazz. Ryu 6903 is your striker, 64%. Cairo again make an appearance for the silver. Then you got Jazz on the assist with 1.5 assists per game. Then you got Cairo again, 2.17 saves per game. An absolute masterclass of a week from him, and a great week for Team Serene players.
Yeah, Team Serene looked really good in this week 5, and I have to say, Kingsman, I'll apologise on behalf of Mal, because for about half of that you were talking over yourself, who was introing the Fails of the Week segment. So unfortunate there, but that doesn't take away from the quality of the players in front of you and the awards that they were able to earn. If you see your name here on this screen, congratulations to you. Let's go up into Prospects tier, and let's hope that the audio doesn't play from Fails of the Week once again. As Prospect Players of the Week, maybe we can bring Mal in this time.
I can, and I've taken away the audio, so you shouldn't be able to hear it.
Nice.
However, I knew you guys would be happy with this one. As teams start to appear, we can see
for
one of the first times,
surely not.
Full DSQ win. It's not one person, it is two. We have Mason as your MVP, Ozzy as your second place, Maybe Omar as third. Maybe Omar taking finisher with 2 goals per game. Rust in second place, and Mason once again appearing in third. Maybe Omar taking striker with a 63% shooting actually. This CJ getting 50%, tied with Louis. Mason once again appearing in playmaker with 1.5 assists per game, with Ark coming in second place and Celeste RL in third. And finally, to complete the full DSQ sweep, Mason again with 3 saves per game, Jay Lino in second place, and Cheese in a very close third.
There you go, your Prospect Players of the Week. And I have to say, it's great that we're seeing the same logo across the board. We are still waiting for the day where we get a single player clean sweeping Players of the Week. I still want it to happen. I still believe it can happen. Just doesn't seem like it's going to be happening this season, sadly. But congratulations to DSQ Prospect team. You guys absolutely smashed it in week 5. Let's head up to Challenger then as our next tier. And Kingsman, you can talk us through the Players of the Week from Challenger tier.
Yeah, Ethereal is your MVP, 502 points per game. Crim Killer, second on the list for MVP, but he is your finisher with 1.89 goals per game. Then for striker, it is Wally, 57.14% shooting. But this is nice seeing 5 different franchises on here. It is great to see that. As much as we do love a 5 franchise full house, we do also love to see this as well. It shows players from different teams are standing out in their own ways. As Francis from Mistaken is your playmaker with 1.38 assists per game. And your saviour is Compact with 2.5 saves per game.
Yeah, lovely work from Challenger. And as you rightly say, when the teams are spread out as well, it just shows that it was a brilliant week across the board in the tier. So great work, everybody playing in Chally last week. Half down, half to go. Let's jump up to Rival now then and see the results of Rivals Players of the Week from week number 5 here in RSC Season 18. And Mal, talk us through it.
Absolutely. We have, for your MVP, we see Wolfie on Unitox and Camronk second place with a very, very close third place from Muzzy.
Wow.
Coming in for your finisher, we see Cherry Cherry with 1.83 goals per game.
My goat.
Followed by Wolfie. Sorry, I lost my middle monitor for a second then. Third place, we see Alone. Tank coming in as your striker with a 44.44% shooting accuracy. Morv coming in second place. Cherry Cherry once again appearing with a third place. Mox coming in as your playmaker. Ken Zero and Wolfie second and third. And Alpha Surge getting a third player up on the first place, with Muzzy coming in at 2.33 saves per game, with View and Tricks in second and third.
Yeah, it's an interesting time where we get to see all 3 players from a roster take home a gold medal each. That means the workload was being shared around everybody in Alpha Surge Rivals. So Mox, Cherry Cherry, and Muzzy all working together to make that roster work. Great job, everybody involved. Let's take a look then at Elite as we move forwards with our player awards. And once again, we are going back to Kingsman Gas to talk us through the players of the week from the Elite tier.
Yeah, and it's Panda. Obviously, only played one game. Obviously, only played one series this week. Is it happening?
Oh,
We're not even given the full house again. I think that'd be too much to ask, though. Two in 1 week, we might be asking a bit too much there. But Panda clearly had one good series this week, 678 points per game. He also got 3.3 goals per game, 58% shooting, and that is one hell of a week for him. But yeah, I very much question the how nice the team were that playing against him. Then you've got Dragon, 574 points per game, and then Vincey, 479 points. The gap between first and third in MVP is almost 200 points. That is incredible. And he's basically doubled between second place as well. And he is 13% ahead of Dragon on shooting there. Then it's his teammate Axios, who's clearly sweeping up the assists with 2 assists per game. And Dragon, who is probably built like a brick wall because he's got 3.8 saves per game.
Yeah, that is a very, very high saves per game stat. So Volpe's playing a lot of defense. Let's move on as we go to our final tier of the week, which is going to be Master tier. Let's see who was the top performers in Master, and Mal can talk us through it.
Absolutely. We see Smashy coming in as first place on the MVP. Jazz in second.
He's not
Sai in third.
No, he is.
Yeah, hold on. Hello? Can you hear me, Kingsman?
Oh.
Yeah. I was trying to fix my audio so I didn't have to hear myself, but it doesn't work. Joker coming in as your finisher with Jazz and JMS in second and third. Ibby coming in as your striker with Joker and Wallones as your second and third. Matty in your playmaker with 1.5 assists per game. Rilo and Jarku coming in second and third. Twinzer as your savior with 3 saves per game. And Berserk and Jazz in a very close second and third.
Very nice. Well, those are your players of the week for every single tier. But as you will know, if you watch RSCast regularly when we can be bothered to put on one of these podcasts, you will know that we also offer a team of the week. The top performers from each individual tier gets put together in a big team of the week, and we give them a little bit of a recorded segment as well for each of them. So with that said, let's take a look at your team of the week. RSC-EU's Team of the Week, brought to you by SpartanWare, home of the official RSC-EU merch store. There you go, your team of the week. Congratulations if you see your name here. Cairo, Mason, Crim Killer, Cherry, Panda, and PZY. And also, we like to see that there are once again many different franchises in the bottom corner as well. So congratulations if you see your name up there. And also, is that the old Ox Gaming logo as well for Panda? I don't think that's the Unitox logo. It's an interesting one. Well, we'll have to take a look at that.
That's the right one. That's the one on the standings.
Yeah,
I think the one in the players of the week was wrong.
Ah, okay. I remember. I remember seeing the old Unitox logo then in the standings. So no, that's a much better logo. So I hope that is the real one. But congratulations, as we say, to everybody involved in your team of the week. Now, normally after this in an RS cast, we would be starting to shut things down. We would be starting to talk about the fact that you can watch all of the games over the next couple of days here on the RSC-EU Twitch channel, and everything is all good from that perspective. But the season has ended, folks, and that means that once again the talent here on RScast, along with our commissioner, need to make our predictions, and for that we have gone away and done that. We've put them all in a spreadsheet, and we've got some absolutely gorgeous graphics to show you about our predictions for the Academy and Prospect tiers coming up this week. So let's immediately see what Arch had to say. And I will talk us through Archeon's predictions because, you know, it's always important to, I don't know, suck up to the commissioner, I guess, is what I'm doing at this particular moment. Anyway, McGann beats Rain 4-1. Did that happen? It certainly did, except for the fact that it was 4-2. So already he's not got 100% points on that one. He is hoping that Drengir beats McGann in a moment, but doesn't seem that that will be the case. So for that reason, I mean, McGann are currently 1-0 up in the series. So hopefully Drengir come back for his sake, but you just never know. Tomorrow, Ascent 4-2 against Xinjiang, and 20 recruits 4-1 up against Ascent. Over on the top side, he reckons Brave are going to be able to go through against Livens 4-2, and Husky take down Purpose 4-1. Let's now take a look at his playoff bracket. And there it is. So starting in the lower bracket, let's see who makes the lower bracket run. Nobody. Oh, Arch, that's so boring. Livens 3-1 against Drengir, but they lose in the next round. 20 recruits, a very similar story. 3-2 against Purpose, only to lose from the teams that dropped down into the lower bracket from the uppers. Unito 4-2 against Arconyx, and Husky 4-3 against Shell, with Unito in a Game 7 going through into the grand final. Lower bracket, Shell beat Livens and Arconyx beat 20 recruits. Arconyx take down Shell in the lower semi-final, and then they can't get the job done against Chrome. Arch believes that there will be a bracket reset, but he doesn't think it's going to work out for Chrome Husky. He believes that Team Serene Unito will be taking down the entirety of the Academy tier and taking home the trophy. So there we go. That is Archeon's predictions for Academy tier. Let's now take a look at Sir Pegasus's predictions, and in order to do that, we have got Mal to talk us through it.
Hello. I wasn't muted. I'd never forget.
Of course you would.
As the stand-in for Sir Pegasus, can't even say his name. I wasn't considered talented enough to do a prediction, so I've got to take over his. He starts in the upper bracket with a very easy Arconyx 4-1 against Livens. Then follows it on with a 4-2 for Husky, so pretty sure in both of those results. In the lower bracket, we see McGain getting a 4-1 win against Rain. And unlike Arc, he has McGain winning the series they're currently playing. I don't know the result because it's on the match screen at the moment.
It's currently 1-1.
1-1. Thank you very much. On the other side, he has Xinjiang winning against Ascent 4-2, and then promptly getting swept out by 20 recruits for them to make it in the lower bracket. Over in the playoffs, we see he has a lot of faith in Team Serene. We see 4-1 against Arconyx, with Husky winning 4-2 against Shell. They meet in the upper final, where he thinks Unito is going to go 4-2, with The lower bracket being a 3-2 win for Magain, a 3-1 win for 20 recruits, 3-2 for Liven. Oh, sorry. I realised Livens won the first game. My bad. A 3-2 win for Livens against Shell. A 3-2 win for, for 20 recruits against Arconics. He then sees 20 recruits winning against Livens until promptly losing their lower bracket run, facing Husky. And then Husky once again being beaten out without any kind of bracket reset against Unito.
He always has been a Team Serene stan, hasn't he? So that is going to be the case going through. I love the 20 recruits lower bracket run, though. We always love to see a lower bracket run in the playoffs. And if 20 recruits are going to be the team to do that, then absolutely, why not? Kingsman, your predictions are coming up next. And this is notoriously the teams that you're not too confident on. How do you feel about your predictions this season?
Yeah, never as confident as I always am not, but because we get proven wrong no matter what we do every single season. There's always one team that makes some ridiculous run that if you predicted it, you'd have been called crazy. But enough about that. I am going to move on with my thoughts of the predictions. Now, I had Megain sweeping Reign simply because Megain did come off a double win week, and I thought Reign were coming into a bit of bad form, so we'd take it in a sweep, but they did end up getting 2 games of that. That was a 4-2 overall. And then I had Megain pushing on against Drengir in a 4-1. Again, very much about momentum, obviously, because they're played, 2-3 days after the league play ends. So I have Megain coming off with a 4-1 win, especially with the momentum of getting that sweep against Megain. Then, the other game, I had Xinjiang against Ascent. I had that 4-3, very much a toss of the coin for me. Could have gone either way, but I did back Xinjiang, and regardless, I had 20 recruits getting a 4-0 sweep there. Now, to the uppers, I did back Purpose in a Game 7, which, very risky. Another one that is close, but when they've won 5 out of their last 5 games, it is really tough to go against that, especially with Husky having their first slip-up in Week 5. I think that might put them a bit on the back foot. Then I do have Livens pushing through against Arconics in a 4-2. I think Livens will push through on that. I don't really have my notes for this one. That's the one I don't have notes for. But I do have them pushing through with Glaciers being the tougher conference.
Very interesting. Now let's take a look at your playoff bracket and who's taking home the dub.
Well, to kick it off, Unito 4-0 Livens. I think that will give Livens their wake-up call on the day. I think Unito are a very, very strong team, and on the day will absolutely show that. I think Purpose will surprise by taking down the first place in their conference in Shell. Another team on fine form, but I think Purpose will come out on the day. It's a very good team, that Purpose team. I think a bit underestimated in some of the predictions, so I do see them getting through that. Then to move to the lower round ones, I think Megain will pull a bit of a shock out here and go to Game 5 beating down Arconics. I think Husky will start their lower bracket run with a 3-1 win over 20 recruits, sending them 0-2. Now then, to go forward to the lower quarters, Megain, I think, continue their bit of a miracle run here. I think they will take down Shell. Now, call me crazy, but momentum does a big thing, and there are some team every season that makes a great run like this. And with experience like you have in Endrick, Buckets, and Andre, anything is possible. I do see them getting past Shell in a Game 4. I don't think it'll be as easy as it is, but I do see Megain pulling through on the results. Husky now will continue the lower bracket, sending Livens 0-2. For it'll be a very miserable day for them. Then the dream run ends for Megain. I think Husky are going to show their pure class and sweep them 3-0. Then to go to the upper final, I think Unito will continue their push through, their charge, and sweep past Purpose. Again, another team that is absolutely stacked for that lower tier. Jazz and Kyra, I mean, we saw it with the weekly awards, didn't we? Incredible. And then I think off that lower bracket run, I think Husky will just get the better of Purpose, taking it to Game 7, but I think Husky will take it down in the end. And then, probably the biggest surprise out of a lot of my predictions, I have Husky taking Unito to game 6 and getting the win, then sweeping on the bracket reset. Now, momentum is a crazy thing, but also the gaps between playing when you're in the uppers can have such an impact. We saw that last season in Challenger. One of the teams absolutely stomped through the uppers and then just burnt out completely when it got to the finals. And I think that constant playing of Rocket League will be enough to crown us what would look like a surprise winner in Husky.
Very, very interesting indeed, considering you've got Husky going down into the lowers at the first time they possibly can, making that lower bracket run. I like it. I'm on board. We'll see how similar my predictions are. And speaking of my predictions, let's bring on the play-in predictions. And remember, folks, as I always say every season, this is the no thoughts, just vibes prediction. Thank you very much. So, as everybody has, I got the McGann versus Rain prediction wrong. None of us predicted 4-2. It did end up being that way, but we did get it right. We did predict that McGann would go through, which is the case. Now, I have also got ODL going through against Drengir. I think that's going to go to 7, and at the moment it is tracking to be that way. It's currently 2-1 in the series to Berserkers, but by the same token, you never know. Down here in Academy, anything is possible, and any comeback is possible as well. On to tomorrow's predictions. Ascent take a 4-2 win against Xinjiang, and then 20 recruits quickly deal with the Aspire roster. Up on the top side, I've got 2 7-game series. Purpose just about taking down Husky in a 7-game series, which I believe is exactly the same as Kingsman just told us a moment ago. And then I have Brave taking down DSQ, but I also only have that in a 7-game series. It's a very, very tight tier, is the Academy tier, and I think there's going to be a lot of games to be played. With that said, let's head on and take a look at the playoffs. What's going to happen on Saturday? Again, let's start with the lower bracket. Liven's going to stop McGann's run before it really gets going. DSQ going to go through. Whereas I do have Husky going a little bit of a distance at least. I've got them beating 20 recruits and then beating a falling Arconics before they fall in the lower bracket semi-final to MPB Shell. Up on the top side, Unito taking down Arconics and Purpose beating Shell gives us a Team Serene versus Mistaken upper final, which I do believe will be won by Unito. And just like the first 2 predictions, I do have Unito winning the whole thing then by beating Shell 4-2. But I've got more faith in MPB than you guys do, that's for sure. No one else really gave them the time of day, but I think Shell have got some good players in there, and I think they're going to be proving a lot of people wrong as they make their way to the final. I don't think they'll get it over the line, though, unfortunately. So those are our Academy predictions, but Academy is not the only tier being played this week. We also have streams on Thursday, Friday, and Sunday, and that is going to be Prospect. So let's take a look at our Prospect predictions, starting with Arch. And once again, I will be taking you through Arch's predictions. Now, he believes that 5 of the 6 games on Thursday and Friday are going to end in 6 games. The only other one ending in 5. So Crusaders to take down Swift 4-2, and then to march on to take down Umagis 4-2 as well to make their way to the weekend. And he believes the same thing is going to happen for Embark, beating Tenma and then Obscurity, both in a 4-2 fashion. Over in the upper bracket side, Fenrir take down Devotion pretty convincingly 4-1. Meanwhile, Rupelli are going to be able to beat Hot Purple in 6 as a 4-2 scoreline. That said, we can take a look at his playoff predictions and see who he has got winning the whole thing. He's got Keanu able to take down the challenging Fenrir, but he's got Rupelli coming through from that upper bracket to take down Sanctuary Shrine in a 7-game series. Meanwhile, on the lower bracket side, Devotion to beat Crusaders and Embarks to beat Hot Purple, the team with the best team names going out in lowers round 1 on Sunday. Then Shrine to beat Devotion, Fenrir to beat Embark, which sets up a big-time match in the lower bracket semi-final. He believes that the Chrome Esports side are going to win. However, they will be stopped there in the lower final by Volpez Esports. Rupelli to take a 4-2 victory against Fenrir before falling in the final to Kayano in a 6-game series. No bracket reset here in Prospect for Arch. Let's move on then and take a look at Sir Pegasus's. That feels weird to say Sir Pegasus's. It's a strange sentence to say. But anyway, Mal, what did Sir Pegasus think about Prospect?
Well, obviously, Sir Pegasus thought wrong.
Okay.
I don't know anything about any of this, but I just like saying he's wrong. But he started out with the Crusaders 4-0 sweep in the lower bracket. Then they follow on by being 4-2'd by Umagis for them to make it into the lower bracket. On the other side, he has Embark winning 4-0 to go up against Obscurity, where they also get 4-2'd by Obscurity. It seems like a very similar bracket on both sides. In the upper area, we see a 4-2 win for Fenrir versus Devotion, followed by a 4-2 win by Rupelli versus Hot Purple. So he seems very consistent in what he thinks is going to happen in this play-ins. In the playoffs, we see Keanu instantly knocking Fenrir down with a 4-2 victory. Shrine doing similarly to Rupelli. So both teams that made it in through the play-ins immediately knocked down. We then see Keanu winning 4-1 against Shrine to make it into playoffs. In the lower bracket, Devotion wins 3-1 against Umagis, and then follows on by 3-1ing Rupelli, completing the start of what could be a low bracket run. On the other side, Hot Purple sweep Obscurity, knock them out, and then get swept by Fenrir, who then go on to beat Devotion 3-2, which, what if this graphic should be a best of 7? So should that not be 4-2?
In the lower semi?
According to the lower semi image, it's a best of 7.
Oh, it does say best of 7. But no, I think it's actually a best of 5.
Okay.
Yeah, it's best of 5.
Issue with the graphic.
Yeah.
After that 3-2, it goes on for a 4-1 win for Fenrir to make it into the grand final. But sadly, no bracket reset as Keanu runs with a 4-2 victory.
There you go. So, Pegasus has also got DSQ Keanu going on to win the whole tier. Kingsman, let's take a look at your predictions then. Have you got a similar story?
I'm hoping I'm not that boring and following everyone else. I'm hoping I did have some spice in my predictions here. But to start off, I do have Crusaders beating Swift 4-2. And then going on, and I just think, man, is that the right way around? Because I swear that I'll just pretend that is the right way around. As Umagis then go through 4-3 in a game 7, I think that'll be a lot closer. Umagis will just take it. Then I have Embark getting a 4-0 sweep onto Tenma. I think that will be a pretty good game for them. Just get it over and done with for them. And then I think Obscurity will come out the other end. I saw this team, a very good team. I think they will sweep Embark out of it. And then moving to the uppers, I have Hot Purple getting a 4-2 win over Rupelli, and Devotion getting a 4. I think this series will be a lot closer than people expect, but I do have it in 7 to Devotion.
There you go. That's your play-in bracket. Let's then take a look at the playoff bracket. Has he gone with everybody else? Of course he hasn't. He's Kingsman Gas.
Thank you. The first surprise I have is in the upper semis. Everyone knows Keanu topped this, but Devotion, I think, have a brilliant chance of causing an upset here. For those of you that don't know, they have JPEG, who I've been saying for seasons should have been in Prospect. And, well, with Vapids and Killer Goose alongside, I think they've got a very nice team there. But in the other one, I don't see a bit of a surprise. I see Shrine pushing through there. They have a very, very good team. I mean, Potter in prospect, I always thought he'd be Chally at his worst case scenario, but a very good player, and I do see them taking that over Hot Burple in a 4-0 sweep. Now, moving down to the lowers, I think Fenrir will start a run. It'll be a lot closer than Umagis than the game before. It'll be a 3-2, and Obscurity will send Rupelli to the end on their 0-2 run. Now, I've Hot Burple going 0-2 on the day, with Fenrir getting a 3-1 victory. Keanu then, as much as people would expect me to put 0-2 teams, no, I think Keanu will bounce back and sweep Obscurity out and stop any thoughts of a run there. Then in the lower semis, this honestly was a coin toss for me, whether I put Keanu pushing through in 5 or Fenrir pushing through. I think both sides would be so fueled to do well. I just backed Fenrir on this because of the momentum from earlier in the day. Then I have in the upper finals, Devotion going to 7 with Shrine. I think Devotion just have that cutting edge to get past Shrine in the uppers. Then I think Shrine on a bit of a low will come down into the lower final, not put up as much as a fight as they did against Devotion, and be taken out in game number 5. Now, moving to the grand finals, I think Fenrir will take the first one in a game 7, but then I will think, as Source used to love to call them, a useless bracket reset, as Devotion then take it to 7 the other side and get a win on it.
There you go. So not only do you not have Keanu winning, but you also don't even have them in the grand final. You don't even have them in the losers final. That is pretty wild stuff, Kingsman. As well, to be honest, I made these predictions a while ago, so I might have also done the same thing. Let's remind myself of what my predictions were as we start with the play-ins, as Crusaders take down Swift. I believe we all have that. And yeah, there's someone in chat who's not going to be too happy with me, as I send through Fort Templar in a 4-2 win as well. On the other side of the bracket, I've got Embark taking down Tenma, but I don't think they've got enough to take out Obscurity, who I see going through into the Sunday bracket. Up on the top side, Rupelli should be beating Hot Purple. And then on the other side, Devotion, I think, have got the better of Fenrir 4-2. Let's go on to the playoff predictions then. And let's see if we've got it. Okay, I have got them getting to the final at least. But I have got them stumbling at the first hurdle. I think Devotion might get the better of Kayano 4-3. Meanwhile, on the other side, Shrine are going to get the better of Rupelli. Now, into that lower bracket, I'm just looking for anybody who I've got going on a lower bracket run. The only person really is Kayano. Fenrir as well, doing a good job. 3-1 against Crusaders, 3-2 against Rupelli. On the other side, Obscurity 3-2 against Hot Purple, but then Kayano doing enough against Obscurity to take them down 3-1, and also much on against Fenrir, and also much on against the upper bracket finalists Shrine with a 4-2 win. And once again, I believe Kingsman has exactly the same prediction, just with different teams in place of it. A useless bracket reset. Kayano storm into the grand final in a 5-game series, win that first series, but they just cannot hold on, and Devotion come back to win 4-2. Those are our predictions for this week's matchups in both Academy and Prospects, and for most of us to be correct, we need McGann to switch on a little bit, because at the moment they are losing 3-1 to Team Berserker's Drengir. I believe only one of us predicted Drengir to go through in that game. So lots of points being lost already. But there you go. We have been able to get through our RSCast in less than 2 hours. So congratulations to everybody involved. Mal, it's playoff time, baby. How are you feeling?
I am so ready to go to bed. I cannot lie.
Nice. Okay. Mal will not be staying up and watching the remaining playoffs. That's for sure. Kingsman, it's always a pleasure getting back on RSCast for the first time this season. Obviously, you'll be, well, maybe paying a little bit closer attention to Master and Elite than the other tiers. But I hear you've been actually watching a little bit more of the league across this last season. Is that true?
Yeah, it is. Weirdly, in a sense, I've been watching less Master, and the tiers I've probably dipped into more this season are Elite, Challenger, and I've even dipped a little bit into Rival for once. Never thought that would happen, and I even took a peek at Academy. I mean, never thought I'd say that, but yeah, I've been doing the rounds this season. How confident I am with my predictions of Megan's lower bracket run. Now they're 3-1 down. Not so confident. I could be losing a lot of points there already, but you know what? At the end of the day, I can always make it up at some point. We all know how fun to do these predictions are, and I think I should be most worried that out of the rest of the panel, my predictions are closest to Rhinos than anyone else's.
You're talking to the man that came second in our predictions competition last season, mate, who was winning until the final day. Thank you very much.
Closer to Arcs, then.
Yeah, about that. Well, anyway, it has been an absolute pleasure bringing you this first and maybe last RS cast of the season. Who knows with the way that we've been rocking our availability over the last couple of weeks. But thank you very much to Badass Studios, Housework Media, SpartanWare, and trophi.ai. And as always, remember that if you buy anything from the Epic Store, use creator code RSC-EU. It really helps us moving forward. So we're going to shut this one down. Thank you so much for tuning into RS Cast this week. Have a wonderful postseason, and we'll see you very soon. Take care.
Bye.
This isn't just merch. It's what teams wear when they mean business. Every stitch, every print, every detail, made to perform. Trusted by the grind, from grassroots to championship halls. Build your team store. Wear the brand that wins. SpartanWare, trusted by the grind.
This is trophi.ai, an AI Rocket League coach, and it's absolutely crazy what you can do with this. If you've ever heard of ballchasing.com, it's a lot like that, but on steroids.
You can press P and a pro demo will come up, and this is what's so cool and so unique about Trophi, is that this is not seen anywhere else, and it's just a great way to kind of show you how to do a training pack without having to side by side watch a YouTube video.
And this is actually really cool. Training paths. So you basically, you know the skill trees from Assassin's Creed, Spider-Man, Sekiro, you know that sort of games where you have to, you get skill points, use them, you unlock new skills. This is sort of very similar, but instead of actually getting skill points, you're actually doing the mechs. And also a cool feature as well, guys, watch this. You can slow it down. You can actually slow-mo it like this. So if you're really struggling, what you need to do, you can actually look for yourself and just have a look at them exact sort of movements that you're doing there. Look, it's really cool. I really like it. And
alongside helping with mechanics, it also has a feature that analyzes any of your saved replays. That way you can see what you're doing well and what you need to improve on. It even has this cool post-game analysis that you can see stats from the game you just played.